AAAS is a very important organization for science and for the global science community.
The AAAS was originally founded 173 years ago by scientists coming together in the United States to say that we needed a place for scientists to get together and talk about their science, to talk about the ways in which they were performing their science, and to create a network of scientists to advance that mission and also to get it integrated into the society at large.
What really makes it so significant is that it cuts across disciplines, it cuts across sectors, and it cuts across borders in its membership.
Science and diplomacy are at the heart of international relations. They influence the positions taken by countries. They influence the science developed in the countries and the application of the sciences developed in the countries, and they are at the very core of life.
For AAAS, science diplomacy is a key part of what we do. There is no facet of society that is not touched by science, technology, and engineering. As the years go by and we try and build relationships amongst countries that have not had relationships in the past, or countries where the relationships have become frayed, the thing we have in common is the need for scientific progress to benefit all of our people.
AAAS has played a long history in science diplomacy. AAAS has had an award since 1992. In 2010, the award was renamed the AAAS Award for Science Diplomacy. The renaming of the award this year is really sort of highlighting two people that were instrumental in their careers at really espousing and doing the work that this award honors.
David and Betty Hamburg have been integral to the history of the AAAS. Their efforts, their achievements stand to this day, and they are a perfect example of science diplomacy and the perfect people for which to name the award. We're highlighting the achievements of people who want to participate in ensuring that science is integral to diplomacy and that diplomacy incorporates science into it.
My parents really demonstrated that one can have career paths that take unexpected twists and turns. Both of my parents trained in psychiatry. They, in fact, met during their psychiatry residencies at Yale Medical School. They studied human behavior. They cared deeply about finding ways to improve health and well-being, particularly how to address issues of stress and conflict and preventing unnecessary violence and aggression. My mother was interested in children and youth, my father more on adults, but they shared this common focus and passion. My mother was a pioneer in many ways. She was the first African-American woman to be accepted at Vassar College and then at Yale Medical School. My father was the child of Eastern European Jews who fled their homes because of pogroms. They had remarkably different backgrounds, but remarkably shared values.
One of the things Dr. Beatrix McCleary Hamburg is really known for is her ability to look at the whole when she looks at psychiatric issues. For instance, thinking much more about how violence or how the larger social system we live in might influence our own mental health status.
She was, of course, a world-famous adolescent psychiatrist, and she was particularly interested in underprivileged populations, and that fit very well with David's interest in underprivileged populations being subject to forced migration through terrorism. They were a very good pair in that regard.
Both of my parents were involved in leadership at AAAS. My father was elected president of AAAS, and my mother served on the AAAS board. There was a pivotal event that really dramatically changed the trajectory of their lives and careers, and that involved actually a hostage episode.
That particular experience changed my life because in dealing with these people, I had my face rubbed in the worst problem of the world of hostility and violence and hunger And I could see that was a lot of their incentive to try to overthrow the dictator who was oppressing them. Nevertheless, I couldn't approve of their doing that by violating the human rights of my students or anybody's human rights. But there was no mechanism at that time in 1975 for the world to intervene to solve that problem or other problems like it.
He was instrumental in sort of working out the negotiations and their eventual release.
David would do the right thing for the right reason, and he was courageous with respect to that.
They spent the rest of their lives really trying to prevent conflict at a global level, not just at the individual or group level.
We're not very good at prevention, but it is fundamental to really how we should work in diplomacy, in the affairs of state, to keep violence from happening, from keeping hatreds from bubbling up, to forge all kinds of international cooperation, to focus on economic justice, to focus on human rights, which was a bedrock principle, both for David and for Betty.
I think by renaming this award after David and Betty Hamburg, AAAS is giving an example of who the types of people that we would like to honor for this award are. And those are people who really see the power of science as a common language, as a powerful mechanism to engage with the rest of the world.
We recognized one of the shining examples of science diplomacy, which is the creation of the Sesame Project in the Middle East. And we gave the award to scientists from 5 countries, including Dr. Sayers.
Sesame is a synchrotron radiation lab. One of the things that makes Sesame special is the fact that it is established through joint efforts of countries from the Middle East that usually do not work so well together. One impact that the award has had on my career is that I started thinking more about science diplomacy and the things that can be done in this context, and that one should maybe do it more consciously and more knowingly and learn more about it. The award also helps in general, I think, to bring science diplomacy to a more visible and also to a more credible level.
I imagine that the award will evolve over time. There will be new areas of science that see their connection to diplomacy in ways that haven't happened before. It will, in one way, stay the same. I think it will continue to inspire. We
are standing at the cusp of really amazing advances right now in the sciences, but we're also standing at the precipice of an abyss, this abyss that comes from disconnection and from lack of trust.
For human security, for world security, naming this award after them speaks volumes of that intersection, that synergy between science and diplomacy, because that's what they did with their lives.
We've got to build bridges between scientists in America and scientists around the world and let those relationships inform relationships between governments.
My parents exemplified what this award should all be about. It should be about a passion and commitment to science, using science to make the world a better, safer place.